wonderful to be here amongst so many amazing people who care so much about a quality learning experience for young people. Thank you so much for all that you do. One of the most extraordinary parts of human emotion is the depth of a parent's love for their child. Do you have any parents around here today? Woo! Go parents! I love that to know, and it was only when I became a parent did I realize stories like this and the whole "I love you to the moon and back" is a real reflection of how much parents truly love their children. The second learning that I had was that it really does take a village to raise a child. This is not easy, you guys. And I think as being a parent, being able to choose the village in which you raise your child, one that reflects your values, your dreams and hopes for who your child becomes, that is the most important decision you can make as a parent. So I want to share with you a story of one of our parents at Ming. Today, I'm going to call him Luis for identity purposes, but I talked to Luis a few weeks ago, and he's this incredible person who grew up in Mexico City, and he loved elementary school. He made some of his best friends, lifelong friends, back in elementary school. So when he came to the U.S., fell in love, had a baby, he was set on sending his child to a Spanish immersion school. He wanted his child to continue the heritage of being Mexican, of continuing the love of the language that he had. So he had all these plans, and then one day he heard from some Latinx families that there's a school called Ming down the street. And so he's like, okay, well, they're having some pizza, I'm gonna go check it out. And over some pizza from Latinx families, he learned that Ming not only celebrated Latinx culture and heritage, Ming celebrated holidays from all across the world. And this light bulb went off in his head. It signaled to him that Ming was a place that not only respected diversity, but it celebrated it. And it celebrated everyone's existence. So Luis and his son they've been happily at Ming for the past few years, and his son is thriving. Luis is thinking that Ming is going to be the community that catapults his son to make the world his oyster. So what is fascinating to me about his story is that Luis chose the us over the me. He could have sent his child to a Spanish immersion school, but instead he sent him to a Chinese immersion school where there are 28 different home languages represented in a community of 870 students. For him, it was more important for his child to grow up as a global citizen and leader. And that is what is happening with over 80% of our families. That is their story. Over 80% of our families come in without prior Mandarin exposure. But they are choosing a school in which is reflective of the global community. They are choosing to be part of a school that prioritizes multilingualism, multiculturalism, that prioritizes learning to communicate and work across lines of differences so that we can become a better world in the future. And that's a little bit about our students, about families, and why they're here at Ming. What is amazing about this is, again, 80% of our kinders come in without any prior Mandarin exposure, but because of the family's deep commitment to the why of Ming, the purpose of Ming, 100% of our students graduate with AP-level Chinese proficiency. Go back. Thank you. So this is our mission statement at Ming. We see that the world is increasingly interconnected, multicultural, multilingual. So our priority is to nurture our inclusive and diverse community to become empowered, engaged, and outstanding global citizens. This is our commitment to our students. This is how we think about expanded outcomes and what our definition of success is at Ming. So you've heard about our families, about our mission and values, but what does that look like in practice? These are Ming's outcomes. Out of about 7,500 public K-8 or elementary schools in the state of California, this is Ming's rankings for every subgroup of students that we serve. We are very proud to be, as a Chinese immersion school, it's a bit of a surprise, an interesting point, but we are #1 in our state in serving Black students. And we are in the top 1% for Hispanic English learners, neurodiverse students, students with social economic disadvantages. We're in the top 1% of all of these student subgroups. For us, all really does mean all. And we look at the data every day to ensure every child that we serve is excelling and successful. In terms of data, this is our data for SBAC. So ELA on the left and math on the right. You can see in our data that year over year, even through the pandemic, we have maintained exceptional outcomes for our learners. So what Keisha was just saying, it's not a student problem, it's adults, and our commitment has been unwavering through it all. But enough about data. I want to show you guys one of our students, because beyond the outcomes, what's important to us is the global citizenship. How are we graduating our 8th grade seniors into the world ready to be global citizens and leaders? Oh, sorry, wrong one. Let's actually do the video first, and I'll go back to the other slides. Ashley, could you help play the video for me?
用中文来问这些问题。
Give it a minute. This is one of our 8th grade students making a graduate defense.
3个问题我们需要回答。第一个是，你的项目怎样帮助你更好的成为世界公民？我觉得这个项目能帮助我更好的成为这个身份，因为这个项目可以让我用中文，并帮我在生活中应用这个身份。比如，这个项目让我去找到哪些问题可以让我更好的理解移民这个群体，让我用中文来问这些问题。
All right, so that's a little bit of our students. Sorry, the video is a little lagging. You see a little faster than that in reality. But this is one of our 8th graders a couple of years ago presenting his graduate defense. When you graduate from Ming, part of the expectation is aligning to our graduate profile. We want our students to be able to be, see, do, perform at a level that can show global citizenship. And he had to present his dissertation in both Chinese and in English to a panel of adults speaking both languages. That's the level of rigor that we hold at Ming for our graduates. And we truly believe in this, that it's going to really catapult these students to success in the future if they grow up with this level of compassion, this kind of curiosity when thinking about levels of differences, people of differences in this country, and have the critical thinking and academic abilities to navigate all of that. So at this point, you're probably wondering a little bit, like, what is the secret sauce of Ming? Could you guys go back 2 slides for me? Thank you. And this is the secret sauce of Ming. We have a really rigorous academic model focusing on personalized learning. Again, 80% of our kids come in without Mandarin exposure, and a large majority of our students are English language learners. So how do we personalize their learning at every step of the way at Ming? Mandarin immersion leadership, the research is there. Bilingual education actually heightens the academic outcomes for learners. So we delve deeply into one of the most complex languages in the world to support our learners' academic growth. But the 2 pieces that I care a lot about, I want to share today a bit about, is whole child education and DEI community. As much as we care about the academic side, we have to make sure our students are graduating ready to be leaders in the world. And that means having the compassion, empathy, self-awareness, communication skills to navigate the complex dynamics of our changing world. And DEI community, the research is there. Diversity actually heightens academic outcomes for students. So it is one of the 4 core academic pillars of our model, is diversity. So we've been honored over the years to get recognition both as in California and also nationwide as a Blue Ribbon School. And I think this is all part of what's helping us as one of the proof points in the charter landscape, so that it is possible on California's $10,000 ADA per student, it is possible to create a life-changing experience for young people. And one of these things that we have intentionally done, what's interesting again, is that we are in Alameda County. Over 30% of the population is Asian, and we are the only Asian, I mean Chinese is one part of Asia, but we're the only Chinese immersion Asian-speaking language immersion school in our county. So as you can imagine, we have a very high demand. We have over 500 families waiting every year for 150 kindergarten slots. But for us, we really are committed to equity and diversity. So years ago, we shifted our policy. We reserved 30% of our seats for families that qualify for free and reduced price meals. I know that's high for some places, low for some places, but I don't know how many other blue ribbon schools in this country is doing this. How are you guaranteeing access to those who have the least access to a quality education? How many schools who are dual immersion are prioritizing serving non-native language speakers? And for us, again, diversity is a core pillar of our academic model. This was critical to ensuring that we were creating diversity that we need for our students to learn, but also to live into our mission and values of what does it mean to be a responsible, high-performing public charter. And it shows. This is a map. The 3 red dots are our schools. We have 3 schools serving about 870 students. And the orange are like the 70 different zip codes families are coming across the Bay Area to come attend our schools every morning. 4 counties, 70 zip codes, that's the diversity that we have. And I want to echo what some of the speakers have already talked about of really listening to parents. If you build a school parents want, they want their kids to be global citizens, they want strong academic outcomes, they want a place where their kids are seen. Over 21% of our families are mixed race background, and yet they feel seen and valued here at UMing. And they're willing to drive across bridges and multiple freeways to get to us every single morning. So listening to parents is a huge part of this building schools with families and the impact that has on the outcomes of the school. So we have learned a lot in our journey in building equitable and intentionally diverse schools. And that a great school is beyond just math and reading outcomes. It's really about developing a global perspective of supporting students to be self-aware, to collaborate across lines of differences, and celebrating what is unique in every individual. And our families agree. Our families truly see and believe that we value their diversity and their child's background and see them for who they are. Our families believe that we are a strong climate and a good fit for their child. 98% of our families, and I have to say it's like 99% for our Black families, even though they're not the majority of our student population, families are feeling seen and valued at UMing. So as authorizers are thinking about how do you evolve, what do you think about as you expand definitions of outcomes, I urge you all to dream big. We are an interconnected world. Really listen to your families and their dreams and hopes of what they want school to be, and partner with the charter schools that you are supporting to live into their missions and their families' hopes. Consider ways to expand the definition of success to align with what students need in the future. And stay curious about when families say their school is really special. What does that mean? And how do you bring some of those metrics into how you evaluate your charter and support them in their growth as well? As educators in America, it's really up to us to figure out how we solve for the public education crisis that we are in today. But I believe collectively, together, we're going to be able to catapult the future dreams of our students and their success. So thank you all for all that you do.